مايك، هارون، منى ومايك اللي شافونا يمكن أول مرة. فأهلا وسهلا فيهم. راح يكون في ممكن عرض وممكن نقاش حول الستاند اب، تمثيل ستاند اب، ممكن فلسطينية عرب في أمريكا أو غيره زي ما بتقول، مطلق الحرية للسؤال. Donc je suis ravi de vous présenter des stand-up comédiens palestiniens, arabes, américains qui viennent tourner ici pour un festival de stand-up comédie. Donc il y a Haroun, Mahmoud qui va aussi par le nom de Mike, Amer Zahr qui est venu auparavant, Mona et Mike. À vous.
French. Thank you. Well, Abdel Fattah spoke in Arabic and French, and we'll speak in English.
Some German too.
No Hebrew. Oh, that's right, there are two. Aaron is one of the first Arab Americans to be doing comedy full-time in America, and especially after September 11th, and it got very popular throughout America and the Arab world. So I'll let Aaron talk about himself.
Thank you. When I started, it was there was no Arabs doing comedy, and when I started comedy, I said I'm going to talk about being Palestinian. It's going to be something that I'm going to use in my comedy. Nobody else is going to talk about this, so I knew it would be a way for me to distinguish myself from other comedians in Hollywood. I live in Los Angeles, in Hollywood. There's thousands of comedians. So I always talked about my culture. My family is from Shafat. They are from Shafat. Big family, a lot of comedy. I think.
Tragedy.
Yeah, that is true. They always say about comedy, it's tragedy plus time. There's all kinds of comedy. You guys know your families. You're a funny grandma. You're a funny uncle. This is where a lot of our comedy comes from, is our experience with our Arab family and being in America. So when I started, I knew I was going to talk about the culture. I'm going to talk about my people, and we got only a few of us. Back in 2000, when I started, there was 5. In all of America, there's 5 Arab comedians. Now there's probably 40 or 50. Yeah, and some of them are good.
You're the best.
But it was really important for us to, the first thing was to be funny, the second part was have a message and to tell the audience something that they didn't know. You know, so for me it was always about making sure people understood I'm Palestinian, I'm going to talk about it, and we make jokes. A lot of Arabs that say, you know, it's not good, you should not make fun of your people. You know, don't make jokes about your people. And I said, but if we don't make jokes, then nobody is going, people are going to make the jokes wrong. If we don't make the jokes, somebody else is going to make the jokes about us. It's better for us to make jokes about ourselves, right? The French, they know humor. They love humor. They love Jerry Lewis. History of comedy. Anyway, but we all felt it's very important as Arabs that we show that we have humor, that we smile, that we laugh, that we're not all so serious, that everything's not dramatic.
College, I was 21 years old, and actually my first comedic inspirations were Jews on The Tonight Show on NBC and on television. But it wasn't until after 9/11 that I started to talk about being Palestinian. And it was because, and actually it scared me when it first happened, because in Virginia, that's in the southern part of the country, and let's just say they're not as open as other parts of the country to other cultures. And so...
it's where everybody loves Trump.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, it was Aaron that was a huge inspiration for me to be able to speak up, because I started looking on YouTube for Arab comics, and I saw you guys, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And it occurred to me that if I don't start talking about who I am, and we don't share who we are with the rest of the world, that's why I love that we're here in the Cultural Center. If you don't, then you let others tell your story. And others will never tell your story and tell people who you are in a way that is flattering, the ones that make you look good. So you have to tell your story, and you have to show humility, and we have to be able to have fun and laugh and joke. So for me, it took on a whole other meaning, and that's actually right after that is where I thought to myself, okay, now I have to talk about who I am. I have to be okay with it. I have to laugh with it with you, so that not you, but necessarily but the rest of America, so that then they can see a different side of who we are, and not just what the news will show, not just what Fox News will show, but who we actually are. And that's where I met Aaron. That's where I met Amer. That's where I met, and that's where I met Mona at the comedy festival that we did. And so that's the most critical piece. And that's what I love about being here. That's why I often challenge when I speak to other Palestinians, let's make sure that everybody knows who we are from a cultural standpoint, who we are from our music to our arts to our food, that people can see the real story of who we are, and not just the massage story that the media will show us. And so it is fun. We're going to have fun. We're going to laugh. We're going to tell jokes. And it's really important that we embrace that, and we get to see and share who we really are. So that's pretty much my story. I guess I've been doing stand-up now for about 25 years.
Wow. You're old.
I am old.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Okay, so we first had في عندنا واحد من اللودز. ايوه معاك. في مندير غسان ودير بلوط، وإسا في معنا خليلي.
Yeah.
منى. So منى go.
Hi, I'm Mona Abushan. أهلي من حكول. مش خليلي، حكولة.
فخورة.
في هذا هون.
رجعي خواص. Okay.
Anybody over here? The ladies. Okay, so when you listen to stand-up comedy, what do you hear? What do you hear?
Humor.
But humor. But what are they talking about?
No, reality.
Reality. They're talking about life.
And about life.
They're storytellers. And many times, comedians are only sharing what they observe about the world around them. So the thing that really amazed me was that living in the United States as half Palestinian, my other half is English and British. Toshe, Anjet. So living in that identity of two identities in America made me often feel like confused, but at the same time, to be a Palestinian outside of Palestine, you guys hold the brunt because you're here. Those of us that are outside, we have the guilt on our back that we're not here. And so when it comes to protests, every time anything having to do with Palestine, there's a guilt, there's an anger, there's a frustration. So typically there's protests, right? And I remember growing up from a very young age, all the protests, that scared the shit out of me when I was small. But the older I got, But the older I got, I realized there's other ways of conveying that passion, that independence, that civil rights, do you know what I'm saying? That social activism. There's a way to communicate it. You can do it through pictures. You can do it through acting. You can do it through art. You can do it through music. And I chose to do it through comedy because you can make someone laugh and make them think at the same time. So whether it was black comedians in the day, or Jewish comedians, or female comedians, if a good comedian is saying something that makes you think, like, so I have this joke that I do in the States, and it's about my dad coming to school to pick me up. And the teacher said, Mr. Muhammad, just call me Muhammad. The teacher says, Mona's not doing so good in algebra, you're going to want to take her home. And my dad says, Jesus Christ is Mona, we're Arab, we invented algebra. How do you not know how to do this? Like, how do you not know how to do this? And so the joke goes on, but people leave black, white, purple, green. They leave what? Knowing what? Arabs invented algebra.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It's a way of taking some information. That's why I really have so much respect for Amer. You take some information that's powerful.
And negative.
Or can be negative. And you put it inside of a joke and leave people laughing. And you have them thinking, there's less guilt and there's more empowerment. You feel anything is possible. You're still saying but you're saying, you feel like people feel like happy, not negative. And so that's really why I chose stand-up, both as a Muslim woman, an Arab woman, a white girl, whatever it is. I feel that stand-up comedy is the most, and you have to be transparent. In stand-up comedy, I have to stand in front of you open. Whatever you have, any questions you have, I have to be able to speak them, because you can smell bullshit.
Yes.
Right? If I'm standing here, oh my God, so yesterday, like you're like, what is she talking about? She sounds like an idiot, right? So that's why I do it. And so thank you for having me here. I hope, whether it's stand-up comedy, or it's music, or it's videos, or it's Snapchat, whatever it is, make sure you're communicating from your heart with love and intellect.
امتى اجوا من اليمن على فلسطين؟ امتى اجوا من اليمن على فلسطين؟ من زمان.
All Arabs are Yemeni.
All Arabs are Yemenis.
Where are you? I'm the original Arab. You came off sprung from me. You're welcome. You're welcome.
He fell in love with Maria, and he married her grandmother.
Okay.
And then
And then what happened?
Yes. He got a Palestinian woman. Yeah. Okay, sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah.
كيف لما قلت لها يمنية كيف؟ Okay.
But like Mona was saying, I like comedy because comedy can teach people, you know? And I learned that really quick after 9/11. Because after 9/11, like, I served 4 years in the United States Marines. I served my country in the military. I always thought myself as an American. But after 9/11 happened, now all of a sudden, not so American. And I found out that comedy can really find a way to get, it's a way to get people to laugh and teach them something, just like she said. I mean, listen, these guys are all Palestinian, but look at them. She looks Italian, he looks Italian, he looks Italian.
Still Jewish.
Jewish. Well, I look ISIS. You know what I'm saying? I look like ISIS. This face over here doesn't look like, hey, I'm American, you know? So I have to use comedy to get people to laugh. I have to use comedy to get people to laugh and understand. And I agree with Mona. The one thing that I love about comedy is this. It's when you're teaching somebody something, you're coming in through the front door, right? Right? They know you're coming, right? But when you teach them with a joke, you come in through the side door. You see, they come unexpected. And what happens is the brain is programmed to not be surprised. Comedy is an element of surprise. When you make somebody laugh, you surprise them. When you're laughing, your brain is going, oh my God, right? And when that happens, that's when you can start telling the truth. Because when you get people to laugh at you, laugh at the fact that, oh, I have an ISIS face, or that I'm fat, or that I'm getting old. Once people can laugh and know, oh, you're not perfect. You know you're not perfect. Now you have an opportunity to teach them something. And the one thing that I love about comedy is that, like, I come from a family where everyone in my family, we always try to find a way to laugh at something. Just recently, my mother, she fell down on her head. She has traumatic brain injury. So for like 1 whole month, I'd see her in the hospital. She didn't even know who I was. She would look at my face and she thought I was her brother. So that means I lost my mother. But she gained a brother. Yeah, that's a joke that we made in my family. And now I got 2 sisters. You see what I'm saying? But everyone in my family, even though something is like negative, we find a way to spin it. And when you spin that, that's a lot of magic. And I think that I like seeing more Middle Eastern, Middle Eastern people doing more art, especially comedy. You guys, yeah, Arabs, sorry. But the thing is that like we need to do more comedy. If we do more comedy, people will actually see more about what our lives are.
All right. Aaron, you want to say something?
I just want to say about comedy, there's no rules to comedy. Being funny is not, there's not a formula, there's not one way to do it. You tell stories, you tell something personal about yourself, you make jokes about the way you look, about your family. You don't need to learn an instrument. You don't need training. It's freedom of speech. It's your truth. Anybody can do it, and I think the most powerful thing is to spread this all around the region for people to know that all you have to do is get up and talk. There's nothing you need to know or learn. It's just your ability to connect with people, and it's the ultimate freedom to say whatever you want to say.
Yes.
And it's important, you know, because I think a lot of Arabs, they are afraid maybe they're going to say something wrong, they can get in trouble. It's true, you can get in trouble, you can say something wrong, but the exercise of trying to express yourself is important. And you become more clear with what you want to say, what you want people to hear. You come up with the stories of your family, and it makes people connected. You know, you connect with people. Everybody can share your experience, relate to you, you know. So it's just another form of expression, but there's not, what's the best way to express that? You know, it's not like music or, you know, it's an inexpensive way it's the cheapest art there is.
Yeah, you don't you just need your mouth.
You just need to talk and communicate.
And you know what, in that same vein, I've been performing a lot in South Africa, and South African comedy is really coming and growing fast because they only just got freedom of speech. So given that there's still occupation here, and in essence, there's kind of still a control of freedom of speech, you telling jokes, you telling your stories, whether it's on Snapchat or YouTube, or just writing blogs on whatever it is, tell your story because you have freedom of speech that in South Africa they were waiting for.
Yeah.
So just to go over some of the stuff, maybe I'll say a few words in Arabic, so to go over some of the stuff for اللي ما كنتش يفهم 100%. انه بنحكي انه لما تخلي الواحد يضحك بسمع له. فاهمين علي كيف؟ خلي الواحد بيضحك بيرتاح بسمع له. احنا كفنانين فلسطينيه وعرب عم نحكي قصتنا، عم نعطي وجهه نظر بادوات كوميديه. نستعمل الكوميدي نخلي الناس، نخلي الجمهور يشوفونا كإنسانية. هاي مشكلتنا الأساسية بأمريكا، إنه بشوف العرب والمسلمين كحيوانات مش كإنسانية. نستعمل الكوميديا يشوفونا كإنسانية. وعم نعطي عم نوصل الرسالة الفلسطينية أو الرسالة العربية بطرق سخرية وطرق كوميديا، عشان لما نخلي الواحد يضحك بسمع لك. بقعد بسمع. فاهمين علي كيف؟ and like they said، أهم شيء للكوميدي للفنان بالكوميديا الارتجالية للستاند اب كوميديان الصراحة والشفافية. transparency شفافية، الصراحة والشفافية. وبتحكي عن حالك ما بتحكيش عن غيرك. بتحكي عن غيرك لما تنكت على غيرك. This is what we call in English bullying. بلطجة. بتحكي عن غيرك، لا بتحكي عن حالك، عن وجهة نظرك، عن تجرباتك أنت. Okay? This is how we use comedy. All right. Does anybody have any questions for us? English or Arabic? You must. We don't understand French. He will translate French. But this is Palestine. Learn Arabic. You want to come here? That's what I tell the Israelis that too.
I don't know Arabic.
It's okay. Now? This is the comedian. You want to come down? Yes, sir. What's your name? معتصم. طب علي صوتك.
اوكي. انتم كمجموعة كيف اجتمعتوا مع بعض؟
Okay. Everybody understand?
No.
How do we all meet each other? Basically, how do we come together?
There's so few Arab comedians, we all know each other.
Yeah.
Every year in New York, there's a festival, Arab Comedy Festival. A lot of us, we meet there. But when I started, there was, like I said, there was only 5. There was 3 in Los Angeles, 2 in New York. Then we heard about Amer. Then we heard about, you know, one more. Before we know it, we all start to work together because I was with a couple of guys, we were touring America. And every time we go to a city, some Arab, you know, would come up and say, I do comedy. We would put them on the show because we wanted more. And so over the years, everyone stays connected. We try to support each other, help each other, because again, we're trying to take control of our narrative. We want to communicate our culture and our heritage by ourselves. We don't want the news or the Jews or anyone else. We want control over how we present ourselves.
News, Jews.
The news, the Jews.
Same people.
Same. No, but we want to have control over how we're presented. And so the more Arabs there are to go into the media and to the arts, we want to support that. So we a lot of times we know each other, we work together as often as possible.
And but like Aaron, like معتصم زي ما قال Aaron ما بعرف شو اسمه، عن جد كنا نفتش على بعض. أنا عن جد لما بلشت بالكوميديا كنت أفتش عن عرب كوميديين ألاقيهن عشان نعمل عروض مع بعض. فهيك اجتمعنا مع بعض. وفي مهرجان بنيويورك، في مهرجان في ميشيغان، مهرجان للعرب أمريكان كوميديانز في نيويورك في ميشيغان. بس كنا عن جد نفتش على بعض. كنا عن جد نفتش على بعض لأنه في يمكن 20-30 واحد بأمريكا عربي كوميديان بيشتغل بالكوميديا فول تايم. فكنا عن جد نفتش على بعض. فيش كوميديان عربي في أمريكا بعرفوش.
That's the other component of as you go into your career. What comes with it is networking, getting to know each other, and never tainting that. If you meet somebody, understand that they may end up helping you later down the line. You have no idea the connection you're going to have. So always be good to whoever you meet, because it was him who gave me. I had started comedy in Chicago, and within 6 months, he said, "Hey, do you want to open for me, a host?" I said, "Whoa." So he gave me an opportunity, and over time, I end up working with the same people. So whatever your business is, be clean in that business and work with each other from a kind of a good perspective, because you never know. Huh?
Try to take seconds with you.
Seconds. You know this seconds?
Oh, the old guy?
Yes.
ده اللي بينزل بالسلطة دايما.
Seconds is the guy who
He lives in DC.
criticizing.
Yeah, he lives in Washington.
He's not comedian.
It's not really
He's not
comedy.
comedian.
It's not really stand-up comedy. Okay, so عشان ايش اسمه هذا؟ ايه؟
Sakalans.
Sakalans بالله. Okay, it's a good example actually. Sakalans مش stand-up comedian.
مش stand-up.
Okay, stand-up comedian بو على المسرح وبتعامل مع الجمهور. Sakalans, he's behind a camera and it's different. By the way, if Sakalans was on a stage, but if Sakalans was on a stage, إذا كان واقف على مسرح, I bet you إنه بزبطش. حتى رجائي قواس. I love رجائي. He's great. بس رجائي بيعمل فيديوهات. أجا على رام الله طلع على المسرح، جرب يعمل الإشي على المسرح وما صار.
ممكن نيكولا فوري.
إيه؟ والياس قرآن. So it's a different art form. الرجائي اللي بيعملوا رجائي مثلا أنا بعمل بقدرش أعمل. But it's not stand-up comedy. It's something else. Okay? But remember, and I think they talked about it here, we also use comedy, asas stand-up comedy اعتراض. So we use it as protest. We're protesting. Huh?
Political activism.
Yeah, political activism. We use, so if I'm doing comedy, I'm allowed to tell jokes about myself or about my own culture. Palestinian, Arab. And I'm allowed to tell jokes about my oppressor. Israeli, white people, all these things that make sure that I get less rights. I don't tell jokes about black people. I don't tell jokes about Mexicans. Because is bullying baltaji? This is baltaji. Okay? بس إذا عم بحكي عن اللي بحكمني, that's different. That's okay. فاهم علي كيف منتصر؟
That's why I love stand-up comedy.
Yes. Well, when you laugh, they don't kill you. You know? When you laugh, we even know from the old days, you know? By the way, like in the British times, they used to have the jester. I don't know what the good word for it is. Kind of. And he used to talk about the king. But he was funny, so they didn't kill him. Okay? You know? And this happens still in America. So it's more funny.
They might die of laughing.
Yeah, right. And also, by the way, كفلسطينيين احنا ايش؟ كل حياتنا بكا 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 بكا
نعيط.
بس مرات if you're talking on the side, please stop. احنا بتشوف واحد مثلا يبكي لحد ما او يضحك لحد ما يبكي. Right? بيضحك بس كمان يمكن نشوف نفس البني ادم عم يبكي لحد ما يضحك. So it's the same emotion. And as comedians, we kind of bring these things together. So we can talk about very sad things and make it funny, you know? Or talk about crazy things here.
Yeah.
So when I come here, I see one of the old jokes, I still tell sometimes, one of the jokes I tell is that when I come here to Palestine, you don't ask for directions in Palestine because everything is dughri. Everything in the whole country, كيف أوصل لهناك؟ دغري. You know, كنا بالقدس مرة قلت لهم كيف أوصل على الفندق؟ قالوا لي دغري. I said okay. كيف أوصل على المسرح؟ قالوا لي مش مشكلة دغري. And everything is dugri. You know, everything. I say that's why the Israelis can find us. That's why the Israelis know where we are all the time. Because we don't know how to tell someone how to escape. Go, run, and they find you. So, you know, these things happen here, and so these weird things, we can turn them into jokes. Right? Or even when we deal with the Israelis, I turn them into a joke. You know? So these kinds of things. Yes?
Do you think you can...
What's your name again for everybody?
Muhammad from Rowwad.
Okay.
I asked about, do you think you can make show to speak freely about, like our president, you are Palestinian, you can speak in your show in Palestine, about him freely here? You can make jokes about Palestine?
About the president?
Yes.
Here?
Yes.
President Trump?
No.
No, the Palestinian.
Oh, the Palestinian president.
You mean you?
Can you feel like...
No, it's not. Of course it's not the same.
Do you feel a fear if you did? Feel afraid if you said too much, you would get in trouble?
It's different.
The same day you will be in jail.
Yeah, I mean, every place has different rules.
Yeah, but your nationality can protect you.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, for us, maybe it's different, yeah. Obviously, as you know, you have to use your judgment, and you take, sometimes you take a risk, it's worth it or it's not worth it. But the reaction would be...
Also, of course, الحدود تختلف حسب المجتمع, right? So in America, but also let me tell you, Muhammad, I live in America. I would not come here and tell jokes about Mahmoud Abbas, not because I love him or respect him, but I don't live the daily life. It's not my experience. I would expect a Palestinian comedian maybe to talk about that if he wanted to, but I don't feel I don't feel like it's my place to tell these jokes. Now, but a comedian is supposed to look. If you think this is the place where you're going to get arrested, the comedian should come as close as possible to this line. Don't cross it. You don't want to get arrested, but you come close.
Really close.
Really close. You make people laugh, and then you come
Until they catch you.
You know?
Sometimes that line starts to move.
Yeah, if you get the audience.
Yeah, right, exactly. If you get close and you're successful, then the next time the line is here.
Yeah.
Right? If you're good.
Like Bassem Youssef?
Like Bassem Youssef, but Bassem Youssef, I think, made a mistake. He went too far. The society wasn't ready for it, so they kicked him out of Egypt. Now, you can say that's Egypt's fault. Yes, of course it's Egypt's fault. It's a fucked up society, should be like. But part of it is his fault too. Because as an artist, you just want to, if you want to jump over the line, okay, that's fine. But what did you achieve? If you jumped over the line and they kicked you out of the country, what did we achieve?
That's what comedy is about. You want to push that line further. Every time you can do it, the better things will get. Black people in America have done, I don't know if you guys know this word, it's a horrible word in the United States. Nigger, right? That is a word that was given to the black people when they were slaves. It's not a good word. And then even after they were not slaves anymore, racist people would still call them that word. But to this day, the black people, they took that word. Why? Because they kept using the word. And as they kept using the word, they pushed that line further and further and further, and now only they can use the word. You see how they won? And a lot of that is just like Amer said, you gotta keep pushing that line forward. Don't get arrested, but when they start trusting you, push it over here. Oh, now I can go over here. Now I can go over here. And that's the whole goal.
But in a place like here, or like in Amman, we did shows. The king of Abdullah came to the shows, and we would make jokes about there was an election. Everybody, all the politicians had a mustache. And so I was making a joke about how I'm going to vote for the guy with the mustache. You know, I like that guy. You know,
but not about the king.
But the king was there, and so I made jokes about politics, but I was respectful. I didn't want to say something nasty. He's not, you know, a bad guy. Maybe I didn't have an opinion about it, but I'm sure if I did it to his face, I think I would be afraid, you know, somebody would stand up, walk out, all of a sudden I boycott, I never get to work again. But there's always a way to do it respectfully. Comedy, like Mana said, if you do it with love, and you do it just for laughs, I think people understand if it's done right. But it is your freedom of speech, and it is you communicating your activism. You do have to have an agenda when you're doing comedy. You do want to have something to say. But if it gets to the point where it's not funny and it's just being political, you know, then you've crossed the line into political speech versus just trying to be funny. So there's always that line. You can do both at the same time, but that's where the art comes in, right? There's political speech, there's comedy speech. When you mix the two, it's an art.
Yeah, Shabbat.
I also noticed that a lot of Arab food, you know, every time I'm eating Arab food, it always starts with an M. Arab food is always with an M. It's mensif, mahlube, jadra.
ملوخية.
Yeah, ملوخية.
ملفوف.
Okay, any other guys, yes, French people. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Did he still Jews?
What?
Is he still Jewish?
No, he's not Jewish, but he's never Jewish.
Say that many times.
But he looks Jewish.
He looks
I
Jewish.
know that.
That was a joke.
I asked this question.
We're all Jews.
Yeah.
We all were a long
Just
time ago.
to follow up there.
No, it's just...
Yeah.
I do want to follow this is what Muhammad's question.
Yeah, to Muhammad, yeah.
Muhammad, what you can do is take the things that you can't joke about. You can joke about the fact that you can't joke about them.
Yeah.
That's as close you get. That's how you get close to the line. You can talk about the fact that you can't talk about it and write jokes about that. That's how you get close to the line. Comedy, not only is it tragedy plus time, but comedy is taking the things that you can't change and make them tolerable and make them funny. Take the things that you can't control and make them funny. And I mean, look, if looking where you are right now, there's a lot that you can't control and can't change. There's a lot of opportunity for funny. And it's not just for stand-up comedy. It's for comedy in all art forms. Writing comedy doesn't just apply to standing up in front of a crowd with a microphone. It can be in all aspects of comedy. Take what you can't control, make it tolerable, and make it funny.
Yeah, and it's pushing, I was meant to say, it's pushing the envelope just to be doing comedy here. Just to be using your freedom of speech is pushing the envelope. You don't have to talk about sex or be overly critical about politics. The act of getting up and trying to make a room laugh, it's relatively a new concept for the region. So that by itself is pushing the envelope. And I think after people start to understand what comedy is and there's more local comedy, I think then you start to take the next step into how far you can go. You know, but the first step is just get people to do it and understand how to do it.
Okay, does anybody want to? Oh yes, go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Ismail, but my question is, are you guys the famous actors? Because I think I see you guys before in a movie.
I mean, if you don't know who we are, then we're not famous.
No, I think I see him, and maybe here.
Well, I was in Titanic. Remember Titanic? That was me. I had no shirt on.
He was in better shape back then.
I had hair. They used to call me Leonardo DiCaprio.
And you are coming from under the ocean.
A lot of old videos. You know, all of us have done a lot of different things, and we've been on TV a bunch of times.
Amer was here.
I was here many times in Palestine.
Amer, what's the difference between the last time you came to Bethlehem and about now? What do you think? What's the difference?
You know, I am very, always very optimistic. You know, very. How do we say optimistic in Arabic? Tafa'ul. أنا دائما متفائل. Very optimistic when I see my people here. And because we are so strong, we're very bad at forgetting. You know, we don't forget anything.
We are not given any chance to forget.
Yeah, right. It's in front of our face all the time. But you know, the most important message that I always want to tell people here is when I meet Palestinians here, and Aaron was talking about this before the show, they say to us, "Oh wow, you live in America and you still know about Palestine?" I said, "Of course we still know. We were raised on these things, you know."
Ask me a question.
This is, huh? Yeah, I will. And so there are, this is, by the way, the strongest failure of Israel will never be able to stop us from remembering. So there is a 5-year-old kid somewhere in America who will tell you what village his parents got kicked out of in 1948. So we don't forget about this shit. So we talk about it all the time, and that's the message that I want to send to Palestinians here, that we don't forget, even if somebody has never visited before. We don't forget where we came from and what it means, and so that's why we use it in our art, and that's why we talk about it. And so, but sometimes, huh?
1948.
Hey guys, have a seat. Have a seat.
We made it around all the checkpoints.
Okay, sit down. So let me quickly introduce you to two other comedians that are in the festival, but we don't have much more time. This is Jennifer Jaji. Jennifer Asalham in Ramallah, but she lives in California and she does comedy. And this is Azhar. I don't know how he got through security with this. He just came from security. And he is Indian, but he lives in Chicago, and he's been doing comedy for a very long time. So I'll let them introduce themselves quickly in a second. But what was I just talking? Oh, what do you think? What do you think about Palestinians in America? What do you think of us?
Just send the money.
Just send money, huh?
Do you think that
we forgot?
I think they are stuck in 1948.
Yeah.
Yes, we are, of course.
American and Palestinian are stuck in 48?
Many ways we are.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I tell you, we have long. By the way, Arabs have long memories. White people don't have long memories.
That's a generalization.
Yeah, of course it is. Yes, but white Arabs. So I was in Jerusalem the other day, and I'm going down the street. I'm on my Google telling me where to go, and it says take a left on Salah ad-Din Street. He's been dead 1,000 years. He has a street.
Yeah.
It said take a right on Shari' Imra' al-Qais. Min Imra' al-Qais? Imra' al-Qais Shari' min qabl al-Islam.
Yeah.
He has a street in Jerusalem. In America, there's no concept of these things. No. In America, we live here in Palestine, so much history. In America, somebody says, this building is 100 years old.
This grandmother.
Wow. And then you're in Jerusalem and you're eating in a restaurant and you say to the owner of the restaurant, tell me about this restaurant. And he says, well, Jesus ate here. And you say, okay, that's old. Different history. Different history. Okay, so but that's what I mean. We Palestinians, we didn't forget about this. We have long, like, they think we're going to forget after 70 years. You know, when you talk to Jews in America, sometimes when we talk to Jews in America, they say to us, why don't you just forget about it? It was only 70 years ago, just forget about it. And then we tell them, why do you think you should live here? And they said, well, 3,000 years ago. God told us. So we're not going to forget it after 70 years. All right, let Jennifer, so what we did when we first got here is we just said, you know, sort of very quickly how we use comedy to tell our story. You can just do it for a minute or two and where you're from, and then I'll let Azhar do the same thing. But go ahead. But very loudly so they can hear you.
Okay, very loudly. I am first generation Palestinian American. My parents were both born in Ramallah and moved to the US when they were young, in their teens, early teens. And I grew up in a very tight Palestinian American community but everybody was stuck in 48. Like 52 was the last memory everybody had. They all left, and they were like, they want to do this, you know, carry the same traditions, even the language. They're so phonetic. Yeah, hey, that's Gianni. Yeah,
I mean, you speak like that.
I know. So does old school Ramallah. All the old school Ramallah people speak like that. So,
في ناس بعد بيحكوا هيك by the way.
And so I came to Palestine. Okay, sure, guys. I came to Palestine in 2000 to study Amer Zahr because my Arabic is zift, it's terrible. And then the Intifada started. I like to say I showed up and then everybody was like, Yalla, Jennifer's here, we can start the Intifada. So I stayed for a year and a half, and I lived here and I saw what was happening and I saw the experience.
I came here to be led in prayer. Yeah, I'm from Chicago. My parents are from India, and I'm just very grateful to be here and to be with you all. It's a big dream of mine to come to Palestine and stand up. So I'm just very grateful to be here. I've been doing stand-up for a long time, and I've gotten a chance to travel quite a bit, and most of the comedy is, you know, it's about my own experience, but also it's about making sense of the world that we're living in. I feel like we're living in a very unique and interesting time, and amazing things are happening, so I try to stay positive about that, and in spite of all horrible and evil and terrible things happening, you know, there also are some very wonderful and beautiful things happening, and of course beautiful people. So I try to stay with the beautiful people and talk about the positive things happening.
If I could say something about him, as well as Amer, they both went to law school. They're very educated, and they did not pursue their the career of being a lawyer because it cut them off from the arts and what they dreamt of doing. It was their dream to do what we're doing. Not to be in a suit and tie, and you probably have to shave your beard. And, but this guy is so smart, and he's a philosopher, and he reads everything religion and politics, and he's a really smart guy.
You trying to get him married or something? Is there anybody here? Anybody here like to marry him? American passport.
Smart guy.
He's very smart. Okay, I'm a little offended that you didn't give me a wedding sales pitch now.
But that would be sexist. We're sexist. But I went to law school for my mother. Yeah. So I went to law school عشان أمي تحكي عني محامي بس. تحكيش عني comedian. This is me. The job was comedian. Yes.
Well, they say with the rebel, but the end is also actor and dancer.
Yeah. We that's what we do. Okay.
I have a master's in international development.
Oh yeah, sorry. She has. I had to understand.
I have a master's in international development, and I speak German, and I have a bigger impact on making people laugh around the world than I did if I had done international development.
That's right.
And I don't have no degrees, but I'm handsome.
He's got guns. Oh my God. Yeah, what's your questions? Come on, man, get off the fucking phone.
Yeah. Put your phone
We're right
down.
here. You can look me up on YouTube. I'm right here.
Okay, good. He has a question. They can pull.
He was talking on the phone the whole time. Hey, baby, let's do it.
What's your question?
The first time you came here?
What's your name?
My name is Hamza.
Hamza.
Yeah.
First time
you came here?
No, because we said it earlier.
No, in Aida Camp.
No, I've been to Aida Camp many times. I think Mona came here a couple years ago. For everyone else, it's their first. Oh, did you come here? No. Everyone else this is their first time here.
And how you can see the Aida Camp?
Yes. What's wrong? What did we do? What did we do? Okay, shukran. Mu'tasim.
They have been here since 8.
Oh, okay, good. Ya'tiku al-afi. Mu'tasim. Speak up louder.
Is it easy for you to cross the border and the airport?
So everybody here except me, but everybody else just arrived last night in Tel Aviv airport.
3-4 hours. Because you have another nationality, American.
Yeah, they're all Americans. Yeah, everyone's American. But still, because they're Arabs or Muslim,
Because we have family here, they
Yeah.
ask you your father's name, and then they ask you a million, you know, it took a few hours.
Plus also, my name is Mona Muhammad Roshan. Like, they say Muhammad.
And it's written in your face, Arab.
Yeah, they don't need our passport.
When they find out you're Arab, yeah, they put you in a separate line.
Yeah. So yeah, so even though they're Americans, when they come to Tel Aviv, they put them in a VIP room, very nice room, and they sit there for a long time. So Azhar was there how long today for you?
Oh, it was a couple hours.
Couple hours. Aaron and Mike and Jennifer came last night. It was about 3 hours altogether.
They let her
He came yesterday.
I was 20 minutes. I don't know if it's because I wore a yarmulke or not, but it was only 20 minutes.
They were watching me outside, so like there's guards and they were sitting inside. They had the cartoons on in case I need the cartoons. I don't know.
Yeah.
And there was a soldier. She was sitting there, and I said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" She says, "What passport do you have?" I said, "What? I need to sleep to go to the bathroom." and then I said, "American." She's like, "Okay." So then I said, "Before I go, can you watch my stuff?" No, I don't watch. I don't watch things. Really? You don't watch things? Really? Really? See, the comedy's everywhere. It's always around.
Mu'tasim, why did you ask that question? Just curious. Why did you ask this question?
Why? Because they had American and
Yeah.
they had a good relation.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
No,
Israeli and American.
yeah. Just because we are Arabs, they stop us.
Yeah.
And they ask us questions. I've seen many times when I'm in the airport, I see everybody else go through. Italians, white people, Brazilians, Africans. And
How about the French? When you guys come, is it a problem or take time?
No, just Moroccan.
Just one. Laurent, whose parents are Moroccan.
Oh, that's why, because you're Arab. Yeah. Yes, Mu'tasim again. Everybody else, please. Yes. Shh. صوت عالي.
We try to tell them that you will call your embassy.
Well, it doesn't get that far. Look, احنا متعودين نيجي هون نستنى ساعتين ثلاثة. But we don't call the embassy. متعودين. When you call the embassy, it takes longer, by the way, not less. Of course.
They don't help us.
They don't help. The Americans don't help.
It's your fault.
They say you're on your own. If you're going into the West Bank, you're on your own.
You are like the best team who had the blue identity here.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of like that.
What was it?
Yeah, kind of.
أي سؤال؟
That's the one from Florida?
Want to tell us some jokes you're talking about Hebrew people?
You guys have all the jokes. I'm not Khalili. I'm happy.
Near to Hebron.
I was just there. I have some breaks if you want some.
Yeah, one second. بعرفش إذا تتذكروا قبل يمكن سنتين كان واحد فلسطيني اجى من امريكا، واحد ولد صغير اسمه طارق ابو ختير. They beat him up. كان ابن عمه او من قرايبه. And remember لانه كان امريكي طلعوه من السجن. I think قبل يومين ثلاثه طلعوه من السجن لانه كان امريكي. بعدين. So yes, we have sometimes it's different and we have different treatment. But do you think when the Israeli police were beating him up, do you think they care that he's American?
No.
No. They just care that he's Palestinian.
They put him in jail, and but they couldn't keep him there. They beat him up, his face was swollen up, so they kept him in jail long enough for the swelling to go down. Then they released him because the American embassy became big public, it was on the news, and the Israelis, they didn't want trouble, so they had to let him out because of his American passport.
But they don't like us better because we're American. Yeah, go ahead.
اسمي رحيل.
رحيل.
المشاكل اللي صارت بين فلسطين.
رحيل لواحدة فلسطينية اسم رحيل. We don't want this name. Okay, go ahead.
المشاكل اللي صارت بين الفلسطينيين وترامب في أمريكا، وكان لما في هذيك الفترة لما رفض إنه يعطي الفلسطينيين إنهم يسافروا على أمريكا فيزا، أثر هذا الإشي عليكم في أمريكا أو عليكم شخصياً أو على المشروع تبعكم؟
لا. لأن لا.
Elle parle juste
Okay, sure.
Elle parle par rapport quand M. Trump a décidé pour que les Arabes, les musulmans n'ont pas de visa pour les États-Unis, est-ce que ça avait une influence sur leur vie?
Okay. No, for us it did not have any effect on us.
What's the question?
So the American consulate stopped giving, under Trump, became very difficult to get visas to travel to America. But that doesn't affect us, but of course, it affects our relatives, our family, right? His whole family's in Shafat. It becomes very hard for them to come to America. So luckily now, we brought him here. So they can see him here. No more FaceTime here. Yes, somebody, yes. What's your name?
Ahmad. بالانجليزي بالعربي. انتم كفنانين ستاند اب كوميدي شو كانت ردة فعلكم على شقين؟ الشق الاول اختيار ترامب كرئيس امريكي كونك تحمل جنسيه امريكيه. الشق الثاني قرار ترامب بانه القدس عاصمه فلسطين، وهل هذا الشيء كان له تاثير في عاصمه اسرائيل للاسف؟ وهل هذا الشيء كان في ريهرسل كان في تاثير بالعروض اللي عملتوها؟
Okay. So his question was, can you speak for a second about how your comedy changed, if it did at all, when Trump became president, how that affected your comedy, and or when he decided that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel, did that make its way, of the Jewish people, did that make its way into your comedy? Anyone want to get into that?
Trump is so toxic. He's such a garbage. You know, yeah, and he's such a joke. For me personally, it became really hard to figure out where the joke was because he's such a joke.
His face, like
his face, and the things he says are so crazy. He's such a majnoon. You're like, how do you joke about something that's already a joke? And it's almost depressing. You know, it makes me sad. But there's always a way. To find a way. I haven't said anything about the embassy move and all this because it seems like when things are happening, I want to wait and see how it ends. You know, go ahead.
So one of the things, couple things. Number one is I've noticed in general, because of so much news coming at us all the time, two things is that people are sick and tired of hearing about it. And when they go to a comedy show, that's the one thing they don't want to hear. They don't want it because you get on the phone, you get this. They get so much information about what's going on. They want a breather. They want something different.
By the way, this is the longest that Trump's ever been in a black family's home, ever.
Yes, and also because he's constantly doing so many extreme things. We don't have time to write a joke before the next thing happens, before the next thing happens. It takes time to write a joke and work on it. But really, nobody wants to hear it. And he's doing so many stupid things every single day. People are like, ah, my God, we just talk about Kim Kardashian's ass. Why are we talking? I can't talk about this guy.
Yeah, Trump is an idiot. And he's an idiot. But the thing is, though, ever since Trump became president, for us, I think, it gave us more leverage to cross that line. You know what I'm saying? When Obama was president, you really couldn't say too much or criticize anything.
Trump made our blood boil. It activated us.
Yeah.
And it motivated us.
Yeah. To talk about other stuff besides Trump, to talk about and bring people together.
Yeah. But like Aaron said, I don't think it's very funny because as a comedian, it's almost like you don't have to work hard to make jokes. So it's like
easy material.
Yeah, it's like you don't. It's not even creative. I feel bad sometimes making.
I have a joke about
because
Trump.
It's not even artistic, you know.
I have a joke about Trump, but like he said, I didn't even have to write too much. He wrote the joke for himself. This is the joke. Do you know there's a lot of school shootings in the United States? You guys seen that in the news? A lot of school shootings. So a lot of kids are coming to schools and shooting other kids and killing them. At one school shooting in Florida, there was a police officer outside. The police officer didn't go inside the building. He had a gun. He ran away. President Trump was on TV and he said, if I was there, I would have ran into that school even if I didn't have a gun. And the only thing that came to my mind was, yeah, that would have been great. Why didn't you do that? But you see what I'm saying? Like he said, the joke is easy because, you know, people say, how can you get away with talking about killing Trump? He talked about it. I didn't. I just pushed it a little bit further.
I avoid Trump in all my comedy because I think that a lot of his a lot of his shenanigans and his behavior is intentional for distraction.
Yes.
And I just don't want to help him.
We don't want to give him
I
attention.
agree.
You know, he's got so much stupid that comes out of his mouth that if you keep talking about it, you just add to the distraction that is him.
Unless you talk about killing me.
When real issues are going on, he's making distraction.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I don't talk about Trump at all because I feel like it's a distraction and it's a circus, and I want to talk about things that are a little deeper issues about what's going on and that pushing my own agenda. I don't want to get distracted by his agenda. I feel like he's playing into he's creating distraction so he can do all these crazy things. And so we're looking at the crazy thing he said. We're not looking at the negative actions he's doing. So I'd rather focus on the actions and not the circus.
You know, when Bush was president, it was more fun because he would say something, he would say the right political thing, but underneath, you know what he meant. So we could go up on stage, we can translate what he meant and put words in his mouth. But Trump, you don't have to translate what he's saying. There's no interpretation. He's just saying nasty, ugly, racist things, and so instead of feeding into his negativity,